Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us this week for another Maxi review for the markets. Let's dive straight in this week and check right up on our Bitcoin predictions from last time. You have the chart pulled up already. This is the same chart we shared last week where we were seeing Bitcoin had fallen out of its rising wedge. It was a rising wedge with falling volume, so it was a bearish divergence. And we were seeing it was most likely going to retest on the strength band, bounce to the top of the wedge, and then continue to sell off was our prediction. And that's pretty much what happened this past week. So
yeah, because typically a rising wedge is bearish, and of course the falling volume confirmed also a bearish divergence. And we saw, and here's the thing, like when price usually falls, it always tends to retest.
Yeah.
And it usually doesn't just like go down in a straight line. There's always going to be retests, whether on the way up or the way down. And that's exactly what happened. You can see it on this wick here.
That would have been the up that you predicted. Yeah, that we predicted there. So we had basically exactly that play out. It sold off, and now it's basically on that strength band looking to be rejected there and flip that support into a resistance.
Exactly.
Which will then further confirm our bearish sentiment here and kind of push us into the next leg down for the Bitcoin price.
Yeah, exactly. And so this is the weekly chart. So we can see if you look at Ethereum basically, and this is the weekly chart too, and that was also in a rising wedge, same as Bitcoin.
Volume too, yeah.
Exactly. And that dropped too. It lost its wedge. And now we can see like the strength band turning red. Yeah. So once again, this is our indicator. It's a custom indicator called the Maxsi Trading Buddy. You can see how it basically calls the tops and bottoms. Bull and green means it's an uptrend, and red and bear just means it's going to be in a downtrend, basically.
Yeah. So now that we have the red band, once we get that bear signal printed by the indicator, once a candle on this chart closes with the bear signal stuck above it, that should be taken pretty seriously, considering that the strength band is red and the bear signal is in. So both of those things line up, and then that's a signal that we would act on.
Exactly. As we can see here, you can see how you got a bear, and then price just kept dropping and dropping, and then you got a bull, and then it keeps rising.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
These are some of the supports that I've marked out, potential areas that we can that we're guessing that it might sort of hold,
find more
form
support.
A bottom.
Exactly. So it'll probably sink down to those levels, and I'd say depending on how fast it sells off, it'll get, the faster it goes, the more likely it'll get to the lower support level. The slower of a grind it is, the more likely we don't push all the way to the lower one, and maybe we start to find support at the higher one there.
Yeah, exactly. And also the monthly close. And we can see that the pennant, basically the rising wedge, the candle closed below the rising wedge on the monthly too. So the same supports also are monthly support. So that's weekly, and it's the same lines on the monthly too.
Yeah.
So that's basically monthly and weekly support. And if we look at this, and let's see. And if we look at this is what we observed. So if we look at Bitcoin in the log chart on the monthly, we can see how it's just been trading in a range since the inception.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like it's like a banana, exactly. It's kind of like a banana pattern, but you can see how our indicator has basically called every bottom and top.
Yeah.
And this is the monthly. So I know we've talked about this, but all we're doing is waiting for the monthly to to signal bull. And once we get a bull signal on the monthly, then we know that it's time for the next bull market to happen.
Yeah.
And we're just going to long or basically buy spot and
Yeah.
load all our
Start
bags.
loading up once we get that monthly print. It's
like
real
it's
clear.
been super clean. You can
Yeah.
see like every bottom and top. And now I just saw this that like, it's been trading alternate channel, which also kind of helps us determine the tops and bottoms. I don't know what's going to happen in say 2028. That's going to be, I think, 2 cycles from now, right? So you can see, and this is the thing about crypto, like crypto, the whole crypto market moves with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is kind of the mothership, right? Like
the North Star of
the the North Star. Like every like bull and bear print signal that we're seeing here, the whole market has swung the same way. And getting a bull signal on the monthly has always indicated as the start of the bull market. And then once you get a bear signal, that pretty much ends up being the top.
Yeah.
And that's for the whole market, not just Bitcoin.
Yeah, exactly. And like a lot of the smaller like altcoins will move maybe as like a delta of the Bitcoin market, where like, if Bitcoin makes a 100% jump in a cycle, then some of the smaller altcoin might make 1,000% jump. But they'll still do that upward movement at the same time as Bitcoin is doing its upward movement. So,
right. Yeah. Exactly. And for that reason, we mostly look at the Bitcoin chart to keep tab of the whole market.
Yeah.
And
then the Ethereum chart helps a little bit sometimes, but like the Bitcoin chart, especially with like the long-term trends that we're looking at right now, the Bitcoin chart exists longer. So like this chart,
exactly,
for example, goes back to like 2011 or something.
Exactly. And I think now like we can say like Bitcoin is king, Ethereum is queen. So like the queen always moves with the king. Like now, if you pull up the Ethereum chart too, like it trades the same way as Bitcoin. And it's basically like a beta of Bitcoin. So like if it's going to move more, but pretty much in the same direction. As far as like long-term trends go.
This channel. Go on.
Yeah, you were asking?
I was going to say this channel also is suggesting like the next cycle when we do start to push up should see us pushing a little beyond the 100,000 per unit target. But definitely short of like $1 million per Bitcoin, which obviously, if you're in the like space and looking for people's predictions, some people have some pretty insanely bullish, optimism. Hopium, I would say, is a good one. But yeah, generally, like if we are going to stick to this logarithmic scale that we've seen, then I would say like $140,000 is likely going to be the top next time around.
Yeah, it's like that is like if so looking at previous cycles, like it tends to top out. Like basically the bull market starts after the Bitcoin halving event happens, and then it sort of goes on for about a year. So it usually tends to end around December. So say the halving is scheduled to start in April,
end of April
next year. End of April next year. It's probably going to keep chopping around here at the base of this this line here, and then it'll start its parabolic move. As you can see, like every time it does that, it goes into a parabola. So like if the parabola starts and then it peaks around like the end of 2025, which will be here.
Yeah.
Or which is basically I think it'll go on till like 2026, right? Like the beginning of 2026, the end of 2025.
Yeah, I imagine so too. It's probably going to be less of a like steep pointy top. Like this more recent one was also starting to be more of a flatter top,
Yeah.
much longer chance to exit. Like
Yeah,
the
exactly.
first few bull markets, like those high prices, they were there for like a day or 2 days tops, and then it turned, recently. But then this time around with Bitcoin and Ethereum, we had the chance to cash in at the top for like a month or two, which
Yeah,
is
I think like basically like we had a double top, I think. Basically
yeah,
we
pretty
had a
much
double top.
textbook double top. Yeah,
So like double top here. And then like uh so it could end, so if it's 2025, the end of 2025, the price would be around, looking at this, it's around, yeah, 125,
125, 130.
130K. So like people are of course going to be very excited once we break the 100K.
No doubt.
And you're going to probably hear all kinds of things saying that it's going to go to a million million
Yeah,
dollars or whatever.
just meter
And
your expectation. I think it's always a good idea to have targets and then follow your plan. As an investor, you're making a plan, you're following a strategy, and our strategy is going to be, obviously looking for the blue lines that you have drawn out there as current support, looking to kind
yeah,
of buy into some spot positions there. And then I would say by the time we hit $120,000, I'm looking to sell a good amount of it. Obviously, not everything until we're confirming with another bear signal and moving down. But
yeah,
it's definitely a take profit target, and it's 5 times higher than the current spot price, so that's going to be massive profits, trading on the way up. But it isn't 50 times
right, right.
which is what people are kind of expecting sometimes. And
It, and I think like that's the thing with like assets. Like I mean, for long term wise, they tend to like volatility tends to reduce, and we're
yeah,
seeing that. Like you can see the jump the first time around, and then it keeps getting less volatile,
yeah,
and
the
and so
pullback is
for
less intense, the like flat line, the
exactly.
jump up is less intense. Yeah,
Exactly. And I think we're going to see it less volatile as like the years go by too.
yeah,
So yeah, like all we have to do is kind of like uh, buy when it hits the bottom and then sell when it hits the top.
yeah,
But we have our indicator, which basically confirms everything. So,
yeah. So right now,
we
waiting for
basically,
that confirmation. I want to see
yeah,
that
we've
bull
just
print.
been exactly, because the indicator, uh, it takes everything into account, and like we basically trade with the indicator. So
Exactly.
that's something interesting that we're seeing with Bitcoin. So like if you look at it, it's going to pull back, the monthly close bearish, as we said, and it's going to drop probably to the base of this curve, which
Yeah.
is where the supports also line up.
Yeah.
So if I put it back to regular, here, these two lines, it's
Uh,
it's around 21.5 or 23.5K. So it's around there that we're gonna see the price fall to,
yeah, and
the coming months.
depending on how that price is acting there, if it looks like it's losing steam on the downsell and stuff, it's not a bad entry point. Like I'm looking
Yeah,
at loading up some of my Bitcoin and Ethereum bags there.
scaling.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Scaling this, like not the whole amount, not going to be opening a second mortgage or anything, but taking some of my
yeah,
capital that's in cash or in stable coins at the moment and rotating back into crypto positions, because those prices I really like, especially on these longer term time frames, which are much easier to chart and get like appropriate prediction calls from. So
yeah. Because like, uh, the lower the time frame you go, you're gonna have more fake outs.
yeah,
So
more
the
fake outs,
longer,
more
the higher
noise.
time, yeah, fake outs, noise, and a lot of BS moves. And the higher time frames, the trends tend to be more clear.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and Ethereum, we're looking at around 1.4K as support, around there. Um, so it'll
Yeah.
be interesting to see, you know, when we'll hit those prices.
Yeah, it's
And
a little ways down too. We're at 1600, trying to fall all the way to 14. It's like, on this chart when we're looking at it from a distance, it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of room left between where we are now and where the bottom of our
15%.
logarithmic curve is. But
yeah,
but it is quite a bit of it's quite a bit of way down, and there's obviously opportunities to make money trading the way down as well. So
exactly.
we will be, obviously, as we always are, we'll be in Discord. We'll be sharing our daily positions every trading day that markets are open, that we're like participating and actually actively trading them. Opening some short positions, and also showing people where and how we're doing that directly from our wallets. Because
Right.
there's a decent,
Like they played this move perfectly.
Exactly.
I mean,
Yeah,
we told them it's gonna retest. We got exactly
I
that.
opened a
And-
couple of longs when we hit that strength band. I
Right.
had limit orders set to close them before the top of the wedge, and sure enough, that wick got my limit order filled.
There.
Opened it short, and then now I'm sitting short in profit on the way down.
Right.
Really easy trading, but
Yeah.
I don't want to make it
If
sound
you
like
know
it's,
what you're doing,
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
It's not super duper easy. It's just, it's nice to have confirmation and a community of people to help kind of inform the biases that I'm taking when I take positions. So it's
Right.
not just me trying to make this happen in a vacuum, but getting real-time feedback, or even just reaching out in the community chat and being like, hey, this is what I'm doing. And then there's definitely been times where I'm like, hey, I'm looking to open a short, and then Sid will say oh, actually on this time frame we're still looking to bottom or wait for support here and here, and then it's oh, actually let me hold off here.
Yeah.
And we'll make those moves more together, and that's a big part of what I like to see there.
It's good to have community for
yeah.
sure. Yeah.
But then
It
there's
helps.
also not a whole lot going on in the general market making news out there right now, as far
Yeah,
as what's going to move these markets. FOMC meeting is a big event we always keep on our calendars, and so that's not for another 2 weeks. So I think we do have a few weeks here of markets
Yeah.
continuing their shenanigans a little bit, and some of those shenanigans are these short squeezes. And
Yeah,
you've been trading this one. We've mentioned it a couple times in the past few videos
Right.
too. But
if we I remember we've been trading this. We traded this whole run up.
yeah, this was
Which
a
was-
good run.
How much was it?
It's a huge
540, 550%.
That's on spot too. That's not with
Yeah, that's
derivatives
on
or
spot.
leverage. Just buying shares and selling shares.
And we can see how the weekly. You could see how it's been in a downtrend ever since 2022 when it got the bear signal on the weekly.
Yeah,
It's just been falling straight, and then we got a bull signal. This is a weekly chart for Carvana, and we can see how it's been going up the whole 500 and something percent, and we played that. Now on the weekly, this kind of close that you see, we zoom in, that is really bullish, because when you get this that kind of curved thing, the next we're gonna definitely break up the next week too.
yeah.
And
As far as
and
technical
last week I know
analysis trends go, this is a very bullish trend to see on the
yeah,
chart.
this is very bullish, and if we see we're kind of at, I think it might take out this basically weekly resistance.
Yeah,
You see that it's basically been in this sort of range ever since for the whole year.
yeah.
And so if it takes that out, then basically we are seeing,
Clear room up to
I don't know, all the way
double
here.
easily.
Yeah, basically double your money.
Yeah.
We could see it hit, take out the 100K. I mean the $100 price, because the next sort of resistance
Yeah.
is around there. So when you see this kind of pull back and retest, and then it's doing this SR flip here, and then it the candles become longer and longer. That's really bullish.
Yeah.
And
so
if we look at the Dodge, it's just curling up. So
yeah, it's got room to move
there'll
up.
be a room.
It's in that blue zone, so I wouldn't consider that overbought or oversold at this point.
Yeah.
So definitely got some room there on the weekly. Crazy bullish pattern on the chart there. And we've already like this one's already been on my like ticker list and watch list since we've been trading this one for a few months already. It's got a special place in my heart because it's made me quite a bit of money.
We made so much profit. We made so much money with just like playing Carvana,
Yeah.
On this whole run up, we've been like playing every like up and down. Basically.
You can see on the daily the RSI does seem to be a little bit over.
So I think.
So it's possible we retest down again a little, probably around the strength band before moving up higher. So you'd be kind of in the short-term frame there, you'd be seeing a higher low followed by a higher high as we punch back up.
Exactly, and even the 4 hour kind of like close bearish. So I think like you're right, it'll probably like drop and do an SR flip, basically. So like either drop all the way here or just like drop around
here it doesn't have to be too aggressive
and then like bounce here.
But I would expect it to not fall below 44. If we start falling below, then I'd reassess before I actually open another position here.
Because as you can see, our indicator, the strength band kind of acts as support.
Yeah.
So you can see like price drops, it mean reverts, and then like it keeps bouncing.
Yeah.
And so even if
a bounce is what I want to see here.
Exactly. So even if it like pulls back, we got a bull signal again. But you can see the band never flipped red. So like it was technically this bear was just a fake out.
Yeah. And then and then we watch it also like so we did see the bear signal and within our chats we were like, yes, you have the bear print. We don't have the red line to go with it from the strength band, and we're seeing the RSI is oversold. That along with some technical analysis, we're then giving real time kind of input where it's like, on top of what the indicator will do, we inform on top of that.
So this was definitely a fake out, as we can see.
Yeah.
And then like we got a bull signal again, and then like it matches the band, so that confirms a bull trend. So like Max said, we might see it pull back, but then we want to see it bounce above this. And that's really
that'll be a good spot buying day then. We'll start to open positions back up.
Exactly.
And if you're in the Discord, you'll see us say like, oh, looks like Carvana's on the menu today. I'm buying X amount of shares. Usually people chiming in that they're also joining or what they're doing.
Yeah, let's see like, some of the, there we go. Like
17%.
This was just like, this was on, I believe on Friday, I think before the week. That was just a daily spot, it's just stocks. These aren't options. We're not doing anything fancy. These are just
spot buying
buy-in sets.
Yeah.
And 17%, more than 17% is ridiculous just for stocks. So
exactly.
But like this is what we do at Maxi.
And so we keep our eyes out for these kind of like short squeeze opportunities, and then share not just the opportunities but also like when we're opening, when we're closing our positions, and how we're trading them, so that people can use that information to kind of learn what they would like to do with their own. Obviously we're not telling people what to do with their money, just helping people understand what they can do with their money by sharing what we do with Maxi's money.
Exactly. We just we're all about educating.
Yeah.
And the indicators also, it's such a great tool. We don't manage people's money or anything.
Yeah.
They do exactly what they want. But
we also use that indicator ourselves. That's pretty much how we started doing this. Since we built this indicator for us to just use privately, and we've been seeing such good results, and people have been asking. So we're just like, okay, like we formulated this around it so that you can actually get access, and not just access, but access along with the like personal like guidance and like help on how we use it and how we read it. And it's done really well for us. So people are generally like pretty happy with the performances they see from this.
Exactly. Like we haven't got one red month. Like everybody, every month that they've been a Maxi member, they've ended the month green.
Yeah.
And
And the market
in the
hasn't been super
most,
favorable, so it's nice to be able to do
yeah,
that when the markets aren't doing super well.
yeah, it's like a really, it's probably been one of the worst years to trade ever, just because of it, how choppy it's been, and it's there's no clarity anywhere.
Yeah.
But we've been doing great. Like, it doesn't matter bull bear market.
Yeah.
Like the we look at the indicator and we trade with it.
Yeah,
It tells
exactly.
you.
And then
And
we also keep an eye on like the news coming out and see what the developments are in the space. And like on that front today, we actually had a pretty big another hack happen in crypto,
oh yeah,
where stake.com is a pretty much the biggest betting platform. They're based out of Australia. They got hacked for $41 million from their hot wallets, which is basically the wallet that they keep online to do payouts for their daily operation. It's not like their entire treasury got robbed. It was the portion of their treasury that they keep effectively online. And what happened, as far as what I've been able to turn up, is that it seems that there was a breach of security for the private keys for that hot wallet, which the hacker was able to acquire the private keys and then drain this wallet across multiple blockchains. So I think they took like 10 million on the Ethereum mainnet, like another 12 or 13 million on like the Binance Smart Chain, Polygon, and all these other blockchains that have assets within them in this hot wallet were all drained out. And obviously people who participate with betting on this site, it's a gambling website where people make an account. They'll send crypto assets from their wallet, or they can use Apple Pay or their credit card to fund their account, and then they'll use those funds to trade in gambling games such as like blackjack, or there's a bunch of weird,
so
like,
it's not
dice
just
ones and
sports
stuff.
betting, is it?
And
It's actually gambling.
exactly, as is full on gambling, like slot machines, digital slot stuff. And then there is also a big sports betting marketplace where you can bet on the outcome of sports, as well as esports. Like if you like to watch like CS:GO tournaments, you can place bets there on like the winners of those. So they really service.
Did they partner with Drake?
Yeah, that's
I
right.
read this.
Yeah,
Like
Drake is
Drake is the official partner,
like partnering
for these
spokesperson.
guys, which
Yeah,
is
exactly.
huge.
So hopefully,
And
hopefully the Drake fans out there didn't get licked too hard. Although I will say that stake in the defense of stake.com, they have already shored up their reserves and credited back any user who was affected by this. So while $41 million is a lot of money, they have a lot more money than that. It's a very large protocol. Yeah. You can see their volume.
Them refunding users, like that's
so it's really like cool. Anyone who had an account or anyone who had made a deposit during this exploit period where the deposit maybe was stolen as part of this ongoing theft has either been made whole and credited to their account or is being considered for a reimbursement. So
I guess Drake's fans are happy.
Yeah, exactly. So as much as it sucks to see these kind of exploits happen, it does seem that it was limited to their hot wallets, which hot wallets are notoriously the most exposed to such exploits, because basically the term hot wallet just means a wallet that is online, exposed to the internet at all times. Versus a cold storage wallet, which is a wallet whose private key is never been exposed to the internet at all, and therefore you can't steal the private key, because where are you stealing it from? It exists offline in a physical place. So
right.
Yeah, so it is a lot of money, but it's a very big protocol, and so I don't think people who Drake onboarded into this are necessarily at a loss, but it's also not super confidence boosting to see a project get robbed for that amount of money, even if it is just operational capital for them. It's like
right.
It's not the end of the world, obviously, to this business, but it's also $41 million.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of hacks this bear market. So
last year we've
safe.
seen a lot more hacks, and I will say, while crypto is still riddled with scams and hacks and exploits, there is absolutely a trend of those decreasing since last year. I think we're down about 70% less value being stolen year to date this year versus year to date last year. But those metrics are also a little misleading considering that there's a lot less liquidity and a lot less TVL in these protocols this year versus this time last year. So less money to steal doesn't mean that it's getting cheap. It doesn't mean it's getting safer. It means that there's just less liquidity to steal.
Right.
But as always, we do kind of like when we do recommend or when we do share our the crypto protocols that we do participate in, we'll share, ones that we've vetted personally and are comfortable putting our own assets in. And
I haven't used this. I don't think either of us none of us have used stake before.
Yeah, I don't usually get so into crypto gambling to begin with, and even
I've never tried.
Even then, there's on-chain. I'm a big advocate for on-chain protocols where I don't see a reason to deposit crypto into some account and then access it from there when I can just send that crypto per bet from my wallet each time. Why do I need a secondary account that could be stolen from me? I'd rather stay in control of it in between betting. And when I win a bet, I'd like the payout to come directly to me. I don't like the idea of having a deposit and a withdrawal phase in between me and value. And that goes for trading also. So we'll trade recently, GMX did their recent update to V2, which GMX is a perpetual future contract market. And then cap.io is one that we trade often in our charts too, or in our chats. And those are all your wallet directly linked into their protocol. But then obviously the biggest one in the entire world is DYDX, and that one you actually deposit into their contract, trade from within the contract, and then withdraw your assets back out. So both models exist and do very well. And obviously I would say the benefit of the depositing into a contract model is that then you can offer cheaper trading fees since you're not necessarily having to broadcast every single thing.
But then you're at the mercy of the protocol.
Exactly. It's would you prefer one-click betting or, click and sign a transaction each time, but the added security of you're the custodian of your funds versus this protocol is. But, it's definitely a big news thing, and you're going to see probably some articles about this just because $41 million is such a large, attention-grabbing title kind of number. But it is worth noting that, this is a very large protocol backed by, big money, decent, they have, big endorsements from celebrities like Drake.
If they can get Drake to endorse on this.
Exactly. And they're not, they're registered and operating legally out of Australia. And so, it's Australia isn't the United States where I have jurisdiction to follow up with stuff, but it's also not like the Isle of Man where nobody has, any or anything. So, or some of these
like
crypto,
Binance, nobody knows where its office is.
Yeah, or it moves every couple of years, which is just
it's into some obscure island. Yeah,
exactly. You have it some tax haven where there is just everything's anonymous. There's no real people behind this stuff. At least in the Australian side of things, it's still a little bit more of it's a first world economy that's verifying these operations, which is kind of instills the confidence that, along with the fact that they did repay and make people whole, and if they haven't made you whole yet, there is every intention for them to do that, and I am pretty confident that will happen. They'll be able to cover this $41 million, and I don't think, if you didn't know about this, you probably wouldn't even notice. You could go onto their site right now and play, place your sports bets the way that you have every other day, and you wouldn't even need to know that something happened, which that is also impressive. And I'd have to say kudos where they're due here when somebody does get exploited, making the end user, very immediately whole and not exposing them to loss from minute one of the exploit. That's well handled. So, it's not great news, but it is nice to see, it's nice to see bad news handled in a positive way in this space.
Right.
So I feel like that was definitely worth bringing up and taking a look at, just because usually what we see is there's a hack and everybody's fucked.
Yeah,
Whereas this is
exactly.
like, oh, there was a hack. The
We're
people,
personally
they're making it
gone through
right,
that.
and they're
Yeah,
making sure that, like, I think the downtime to the platform was maybe like an hour or something, where there was mismatched potential like values and stuff. So they handled it very quickly and professionally. So
that's cool.
maybe I've never used it before, but it's on my radar. Clearly, it's like
Yeah,
they're running a tight ship, it seems. Not tight enough to get robbed though, so keep that in mind. And again, it did look to me that the exploit was a private key leak, meaning that their OPSEC, their operational security practices, is OPSEC is short for, their operational security practices were not strong enough to keep their private keys from being stolen in the first place. And that isn't something that I can spin into a good light. So,
okay.
it's not all good news here. Yeah. But
Right.
yeah, it's good to know that this is going on. A lot of the money so far from out of scene, you can obviously track everything on the blockchain. The money they stole has been turned into Ethereum on the respective blockchains where it was stolen, and has been moved into separate accounts that are basically just sitting there now holding the Ethereum. It's unclear what they plan to do.
That probably makes it.
Most of the time, if the goal of the attacker is to keep the funds, what they'll do is they'll use a mixer like Tornado Cash is the big one that you've probably heard of, where they will send
Which did exist, but doesn't
yeah,
anymore.
they haven't used it yet.
They got shut down.
But there's those protocols themselves, like just deployed, where it's basically, you deposit an amount of crypto and it sends it to like thousands of different wallets and then back and forth to all those wallets, eventually, withdrawing that amount of crypto back into like 20 different wallets that are brand new and that you own now. And so you start with basically dirty money, and it comes out clean-ish on the other end. But of course, it was tumbled through that protocol. And for a lot of jurisdictions like the United States, if you were to deposit from a wallet that has interacted with Tornado Cash, they would seize your assets. So it's basically a sanctioned crypto protocol. But obviously, that is an option that could happen. It's also possible they are going to keep the money in the fund. Like for now, what we know is that the money's just sitting in these wallets. They could wait and then let the team offer them a bounty, and then basically act as a white hat hacker, where they return the funds in exchange for some sort of
reward.
Yeah, some sort of settlement, effectively, that like a bounty for them, basically acting as someone to prove that they had this vulnerability by actually exploiting it. Because I have seen quite a few people who have reported vulnerabilities to protocols that should have fetched them a bounty, and those protocols then fixed or patched the vulnerability and didn't pay up, or paid up very little, like paid up a few $100s when this thing saved them potentially millions of dollars in exploit. And so it isn't necessarily unheard of for somebody who's an honest player to actually execute a vulnerability and exploit a protocol once they find a vulnerability, in order to be the first party to exploit the protocol and save the money from the team who's mismanaging it or mishandling it with this exploit potential. And so, for example, the Euler protocol, this is a little while ago, they got robbed for like $130 million. I think like several other protocols are built on top of that one. For me, it was Angle, which issues AG euros. They had their backing stolen pretty aggressively, and it made the AG euro lose peg with the regular euro. And then like 2 to 3 weeks later, the hacker returned all of the money. And it was, at the time, it kind of worked out in my favor because I just left my liquidity pool sitting there. And so, I was in euros and dollars, and then the euro lost peg, so my dollars were used to buy a bunch of euros lower than peg. And then when the euros got their peg back, then and they sold them back, and I ended up coming up on both sides.
Nice.
But obviously, some people saw the peg fell, and then they pulled from the pool, they sold at a loss, which is also not the wrong idea. If the money doesn't get returned, then those backings don't just come back. And it's important to kind of keep track of all this kind of stuff. So I'm very curious to see how this plays out. This is very new news. This is happening today. So in the next few days, I'm sure we'll see, was this a white hat operation? Are they going to return the funds? But at the end of the day, it does seem like the end user of the stake.com platform shouldn't be affected or expected to pick up the bill here. So, mixed,
but we,
mixed
of course,
messages.
we never use this, and we always say, be cautious.
Exactly. And it's, it's gambling. Gambling's fun, but what we do is invest. So we're not necessarily.
Yeah, we look to
gambling.
trade and invest. That's what we're about. Like, we don't gamble. And so because of that, we don't really use these protocols.
Yeah, exactly. And the whole thing is like, and we've shared this, of course, as well, but when I do want to gamble and play with a protocol like this, I make a brand new wallet. I send an amount of, like, let's say I want to gamble with $100. I'll send $100 to that wallet, and then I'll connect to those protocols from that brand new wallet. So even if the contracts I'm connecting to or the protocol itself becomes malicious or compromised, I'm only exposed to the clean wallet's exposure, because that's the only wallet that I have that actually has permissions to engage with these protocols to begin with.
Right.
And that's a best practice kind of that we also preach when it comes to, taking your own operational security practices very seriously. Because in crypto, you are the first and last point of contact to these assets. If you you lose your money, it's gone. There is no customer service. You can't call 1-800-Bitcoin. They're not gonna help you recover something that you sent to the wrong address.
Or Pushy.
you can call. I mean, they won't answer probably. But yeah,
we can ask him to pump our bags. No,
right.
But
we'll ask him
anyway,
to just refund us from the block zero. Refund us from the original Bitcoin wallets.
That's right.
Drive everybody crazy. But yeah, let's recap. So this past week, I mean, we're looking at right now here the logarithmic scale pattern. We can see how the Maxi Trading Buddy has literally called the top and bottoms of the crypto cycles pretty accurately since
for Bitcoin ever since its inception. So all you do is buy when it says bull, sell when it says bull.
Yeah, and you can see we are approaching the lower end of our logarithmic channel there, and so we are getting close to starting to scale into our spot positions back in crypto to ride into the next bull cycle here, but we're not quite there yet. And in the shorter term, like in the weekly, it does look like we are going to continue pushing down, and beyond that, we're looking at the stock market, and we're looking at Carvana making a very, very bullish indication for us on the chart this time. And we've already done really well playing that short squeeze, so that's definitely on the table. I'm looking forward to market open tomorrow. Might have to see how we're doing on that retest that we're expecting, and if that retest again holds above 44, it's time for me to kind of play that ride again.
Yep.
And then of course we touched on the hack here at stake.com, where unfortunately Drake the spokesperson for this site has potentially led some of us into a crypto scandal. But as far as crypto and scandals go, this one's not so bad for the end user. Obviously, it's a lot of money, and there's a big project behind it that's going to be, eating this loss. But it isn't us, the users of the platform. So we're not upset with Drake. He's also got to get paid for his sponsorship stuff. And hey, it is really, honestly, I will give it that. Like, it is a platform where you can do sports bets and stuff. And I know people all over the world who like to participate in that, and it's not super straightforward to be able to do that, especially for like esports like CSGO or whatever, and it's a nice spot to facilitate all that stuff. So I'm glad to see that it isn't like the end of days for that protocol. But of course, another day, another hack kind of, and crypto kind of is trucking along here, absorbing these multi-million-dollar losses. So we're gonna keep our eye on that, see if those funds are going to be dumped into the DeFi markets, or are they going to be returned to their rightful owner, or are they just going to sit there? We'll have to keep an eye on them. So let's see how this plays out. I think next week we're going to see the stock markets probably continue to range. Probably, we'll keep our eyes on what calls we're going to make early in the week here and where positions we're going to open over in Discord. But generally speaking, it is starting to look a little bearish on the longer term timelines. The DXY absolutely hits the top of a channel like we had been predicting too.
Yeah,
so.
I think it depends a lot with like the dollar, because like right now it kind of looks confusing, like because the SPY in QQQ, it ended with the sort of a doji on, on the monthly. The weekly looks bullish though, so it's like,
so we could see it push up a bit in the coming days.
Yeah, we could see it push up, and then meanwhile the DXY pulls back. But then we'll be looking to see if the DXY flips back into a bull signal on the weekly. It's been in bear,
or do we stay
falling
in the
down the channel?
Yeah, exactly.
Which we shared in the last few videos.
Yeah.
So
we'll check back next week.
We'll check back, because like right now it's clear what crypto is going to do. In the coming weeks, it'll be clear what stocks and what the dollar does.
Yeah, exactly.
Where stocks go from there.
And right now, it makes sense to me to expect the crypto or the stock market rather to be a little bit undecided, because we got a decent amount, like the next 2 weeks basically, before the Fed is going to step into their FOMC meeting and they decide what to do with inflation. It's also a little bit mixed, what people are expecting there, because inflation is already at 5.5% on a federal level. So raising it more is going to be quite a bit of an interest on borrowed monies for institutions. So we'll see. Right now, I'm seeing the majority of analysts are suggesting the rates will stay the same. We'll see. Once we get closer to, it's going to be on the 19th, I believe. It's on
19th, 20th. Yeah.
So we'll have the 19th and 20th. We'll actually get direction, but until then, it's not going to be uncommon to see like stocks and equities bounce around a little bit and continue the chop, stay a little undecided until we get that information from Mr. Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Federal Reserve. But yeah, we'll keep our eyes on this, and until next time, we'll check back in on these predictions. We've been calling it pretty really, really well, honestly, these last few videos as you've been following
If
along.
you guys check back on our earlier videos, you can see how, and you can track with calling stuff. It's
been kind of nailing it. So I'm excited for this trading week. We'll continue to nail it, keep pulling in those green candlesticks and bringing home the trade bacon. But until then, happy trading, everybody. Stay safe in crypto as always. Engage with big protocols that are well established. Don't trust, verify. And until next time, we'll see you.